Hey guys, VaulSC here. Thanks for watching another infiNity bat rep. This time we're going to be looking at a game between the Invincible Army and Acontecimento. So it's Yuching against Pan-Oceania, but two very powerful sectorials. Mission for this one's going to be Frostbyte, one of my faves. So we'll take a quick look at the battlefield, do a bit of an overview, then I'll actually go into a bit more detail on the mission because I think it's going to be important. So if we just grab ourselves a little pen here, we'll take the green. So you've got one deployment zone right over here. Just for this game, we've got Invincible Army on this side, and then the other deployment zone right over here, and we're going to have Acontecimento right over here. So my opponent wins the dice roll for, the lieutenant roll off, opts to go with the table side that he wants and deploys second, which allows me the choice of first or second turn. I go straight for second turn, partly because of the lists and the matchup, but also partly because of the mission. The idea here is that there's an exclusion zone right down here, obviously. So we all know how exclusion zones work, and that's the exclusion zone through there. And if you have your data tracker in that zone by the end of the game and your opponent doesn't, you get 3 objective points. If you've killed more stuff than your opponent, you also get 3 objective points. Then again, if you've killed their data tracker, you get a bonus 2 points. And if you manage to somehow succeed in that combination of getting the exclusion zone and killing their data tracker, that is huge. That's pretty much game. There's no way they can recover from that because that's 5 points that you've got, and the most they can get is their 3 points for army kills plus 1 classified plus securing one of the consoles, and assuming that you haven't. So if you just grab a classified or one of the consoles, you've got like a 6-5 win, for example. So knowing that and playing this mission a number of different times before, I've decided it's easier to get your data tracker into the middle and pick up a couple of peripheral points there to secure the win. A lot of the time, your opponent's going to want to try and send their data tracker into the zone, but that's risky if they don't have last turn, because if it's in the zone, it's going to be easier to move out, find it, and kill it, giving you that huge point swing. So that's really, really important. Before we get into the bat rep, though, I want to talk you through some army lists. So this one's a bit of a different game for me because I'm trying out a list which may seem a little bit more gimmicky than usual. Not really maybe the most optimal tournament list, but there are some things going for it, and I just wanted to sort of try it out. So what we've got here is the Harris Link team featuring the Zuyongs, and the Yanhuos, which is a special fire team that you can make. One really flexible thing about this fire team is that there are so many wild cards in the sectorial and in general now, with Corvus Belli putting so many wild cards out into the game for sectorial construction. It's very easy to sub out the Yanhuos. For example, if you want to go for a Zuyong tactical awareness Harris with the guy leading them, you could put in a Shang-Chi or the Pangolin FTO or the Hai Dao or whatever, because there's so many different choices for that little unit, that little squad with the wildcards. For this game, I am actually including a Yanhuo. And again, this may not be the most sensible tournament choice, but it's just really fun. And one thing in a lot of people's minds is that we've got a unit here which can actually fire with burst 3 with missile launchers in the active turn, because it's got 2 missile launchers and it's in a link team. So that's a first for infiNity, which I was quite curious to try. In the reactive turn, it is just as good as a Neurocynetics Yanhuo, because obviously burst 1 plus 1 for the link. With these Zuyong having tactical awareness, it somewhat makes up for the slowness of the Yanhuo's 4-2 speed. But if you really want to, you can pick them all up and walk around the side of the flank and maybe get some massive missile hits. So that's really, really fun. The Pangolin FTO is in there just because it's 13 points, and if you invest in, say, another Yanhuo with HRMC, well, that's basically most of the points for your list right there, and you've got very little left. What I'm going for, though, is a bit more of a robust list in terms of order count. So you've got the Zhanchi team with the Hai Dao multi-sniper. I'd love to have a Shang-Chi in there as well, but again, just tight for points. You can't afford everything. I can't even have any Zenshas in this list, unfortunately. It's a lot of backup bots, flash pulse bots with the Yao Kongs and so on. Lu Xing as well, my first time playing one. Really keen to try and get the drop bomb off, but if not, that's okay. Boarding shotgun, just because that's going to be the main sort of shock trooper element of just landing somewhere, I hope. Zanji Hacker in there, of course, for controlled jump. And I mean, including the Urushi as well, just because apart from the Liu Xing, there's not very much that can quickly get to grips with the enemy. It's very much these slow 4-4 or 4-2 speed link teams if you're thinking about the Yan Huo. So quite defensive, pretty good at the long range shootout, a couple of things in there for the shorter range. I don't think this is the best list I've ever made, but still interested to see how it goes. My opponent, haven't played him in a long time. You know him as the Admiral JF for the forums, and he is playing a lot of Acontecimento at the moment. If you guys didn't know, I've actually given him my Pan-Oceania collection, so on the table if you see some models that look like my old Pano, that's them, because he had his army stolen at one point, so I handed him over my models just so he could keep playing. So just very roughly, I've reconstructed this from memory. The groups may be wrong, some of the profiles may be wrong, but just in general, he's taken the Bagmurray HMG and the Bagmurray multi-sniper. I think that's pretty cool because they can sub in and out of that link team and both benefit from the group. One thing which I find is a little bit eyebrow-raising is the Orc with multi-rifle and deflector. One thing I do like about that Orc is that it defends your hacker really, really well. One thing I don't so much like about the Orc is that you're missing out on the opportunity to have an HMG on that platform, where the Orc's very good at sweeping things with his superior ballistic skill, and he's quite tough, so if he does get hit by a crit, he's still got a wound left and so on. So he's very good at actually doing that heavy lifting, sort of mid-range shootout. With the multi-rifle, though, you're basically playing it in such a way that the regulars are going to be moving out at some point in the game, way out into the midfield, and then he's going to be getting his gun into action. So for that, is it worth the points? Is it worth the slot? I don't know. Elsewhere, though, I've got a Bulleteer, which I believe is much better at that kind of job, and then a couple of Nagas. Can't go wrong with Nagas, very, very good, and you know, the ability to put them in the Pano list like this allows you to you know, use them as the button pressing team. And then a lot of bots and support crew for being cheerleaders, I guess. About time we got into it. Alrighty, so that's Frostbyte. We'll come back to this for the sake of the scenario, and here is our table. Just move my face over here, and let's get into this. So I'm deploying first, but taking the second turn. So let's have a look. This is my left-hand corner deployment zone. So we've got HVT over here and a War Corps as well, and then there's going to be a link team further up there, which we'll take a closer look at. Here it is here. So, the Zhanshi plus Haidao link team. I don't have the Zhanshi special weapons box, but I do have the Red Veil units. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This guy obviously is an Imperial Service unit, which I'm just using to represent the hacker. This guy here is the Lieutenant, and then of course you've got the Haidao here with the multi-sniper. He's the only one standing up, so he's got a line of sight through this very long lane through the middle of the table, and another one right through here, and he can of course see right through the flank if something drops down. And he's behind this blue box, so if he does get hit and survives, he can always go prone behind that blue box area, but because he's got 2 wounds and he's got the full benefit of the link team and he's got MSV2, you can afford to have him in a position where he can see the enemy deployment zone. Even if you suspect you may get shot at by HMGs and link teams and so on, statistically he's very good at defending, can punish, you know, bad luck from your opponent really, really well. And if you lose him, it's not the end of the game. There's still other things on the list which you can fight with. Next image here. So the Yan Huo is going to try and be a surprise reserve trooper, but I've set up for him, and my opponent, maybe being a little unfamiliar with the Army 6 for Invincible Army, may not really see what's coming. So we've got a Zuyong right here. That's going to be my data tracker later. And this is the Pangolin FTO, so they're within 8 inches of each other, obviously. And then we're going to have the Yan Huo here. This Celestial Guard is representing a doctor, just since I don't have the handy specialist doctor miniature. But I think it's pretty obvious, don't you, that there's a doctor there with nothing next to it, and then there's a 2-man link team, which can be a 3-man. So you're going to be expecting some sort of piece next door to it. So it's a bit of a giveaway. Then, of course, the Urushi at the back, Minesweeper bot. This guy's going to be an engineer, and that's, I think, a flash pulse bot right there. Over to the Pano side. Let's take a look. So this Tech B is actually an HVT, even though Acontecimento can actually take a Tech Bs, it's just going to be an HVT. I've got the Naga just hanging out right on the edge of the exclusion zone, which is around here. Then you've got a Sensor Bot, Doctor, Bulleteer, Engineer, Flash Pulse Bot right at the back. This is his right-hand flank. In the center, so we just had a look at this crew over here on the right. There's a Bagmari HMG, not part of the Link team, I should add. Another Naga over here, I believe this one is the Killer Hacker. And then the regulars Link team is going to be hanging out in this building here, so we'll just take a quick look at that. So, here they all are. So a couple of guys around the back, one guy around the side, one guy up the top. They're all going to get prone markers, and then you've got the Orc multi-rifle trooper. There's also the Doctor's Pelbot at the top of the building to potentially revive troopers if needed. Another flash pulse back here, and the aforementioned Naga Killer Hacker. Okay, oh, and I believe there's a little mine hanging out at the back there. So my reserve trooper, the beautiful Yanhuo missile launcher, FTO guy, or whatever he is. So 3 missiles in the active turn, 2 in the reactive turn. Armor 5, got cover, he's got the Link team, so we'll see how it goes. Opponent's reserve trooper is the Bagmari sniper. He's placing him right next to this building where he can go for an immediate shootout with the Yanhuo at the start of the game. So Pano will be going first, and I believe that will be the first little bit of action. Just to note, the Zuyong receiving the data tracker token at the end of the deployment phase, and the Link leader for the Haris, and the Orc trooper, the data tracker on the Pano's side. So data tracker is very important for the scenario. Want to remind everybody who they are. Alrighty, so most infiNity games do feature this sort of first turn vying for control shootout for the board. I mean, this is a fairly open table. It's not a dense clustered table with terrain. And you've got a very powerful defensive arrow here, and a fairly powerful, you know, attacking piece in the form of the Bagmari with multi-sniper in the Link team. So, yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite thing about infiNity, but it does come down to luck, and it's a game with a lot of variance. I'm okay with the Yanhuo receiving this, because with the Yanhuo's armor and his 2 dice and his decent ballista skill, the chances of the Bagmari getting 3 wounds outright on him and removing him are actually very low. The chances of doing 1 or 2 wounds are decent for the Bagmari, and if that happens, he's either unconscious and can be revived easily by the Doctor later, or he just drops prone after taking a wound. If the Pano player gets really unlucky here, the Bagmari is certain to be destroyed, and even if it's just unconscious, the Palbot's going to have a tough time getting over there. So I'm happy with the scenario, because you're putting your opponent a whole bunch of risk here while not risking much yourself, and it's also going to take some orders to do this, meaning that there are going to be fewer orders for anything to come across, you know, to our side of the board and actually get damage done. And the longer you can stall a game out in that way and prevent significant damage from occurring, the easier it is in the end to come over there, get your data tracker in the zone, nab the 3 points, maybe clip a few things off and get the army points victory as well, but more importantly, secure a classified of the HVT and pick up a console and get a draw if not a win. Gonna bring up Dice Calculator actually. Where are we? So I think it's going to be quite important to have a look at this. Pano, let's go to medium infantry and grab the Bagmari. So here he is here, Bagmari. Weapon, multi-sniper with anti-material mode. So the range is going to be good, Link team is going to be maxed, and the guy's going to have cover as well. On the other side, he's going to be up against this. Yuching, we'll go heavy infantry, we'll go Yanhuo Invincibles. By the way, guys, if you're not familiar with Dice Calculator, you should really have this bookmarked in your favorites. It's really useful for learning. He's going to be shooting back with a blast mode missile launcher, because that's going to negate the cover if it's a template. The cover bonus for armor, that is. Range is good, and Link team is +1, and he's got cover. Let's roll the dice. Okay, so let's take a good look at this. A just under 60% chance that the Bagmari will win and inflict a single wound. That is fine, because the Yanhuo will have the option of just ducking into cover. You've forced your opponent to spend an order, and the Yanhuo is still going to be available to you next turn, which is perfectly fine, but there's only a 60% chance of that happening. 31% chance of a specific scenario where the Yanhuo takes 2 or more wounds. That's not terrible if that happens, because the doctor's there to revive him. So it's going to cost me an extra order, or maybe command tokens to bring him back, but that will be an order well spent. Only an 11.53% chance of the Bagmari removing the Yanhuo, and that would legitimately be a bad outcome, but luckily it's a very, very low percent chance of that happening. And the idea is that even if the Yanhuo is removed, there's still other things in my army which can get the job done and win the game later. I'll still have my data tracker, still have a Rushi, I've still got the link team with the high Dao in it, so we should be okay. 21% chance that nobody does anything, and that's fantastic for Yuching if that happens, because its orders being wasted in a first turn scenario where Pano needs to get a lot done. If not much is done, then the game's going to be over before you know it, and Yuching's going to have that last turn advantage. However, there's a 18% chance that something disastrous happens and the Bagmari is just removed. So you're taking a serious risk as Pano. Like if we played out this game over and over and over again, 1 in 5 games that you play, you're going to be down like a Bagmari from the very first order in your own turn, and it's going to be hard to come back from that. What actually happens in the game is that the Bagmari wins, inflicts a single wound, one of the most likely scenarios basically, and the Yanhuo just ducks into cover. So, as predicted. Next up, we have the other Bagmari, and this is a bit of a different situation because he starts out around here somewhere, and he's coming around and he's heading over to take on the high Dao. So just trying to systematically remove the very powerful ARO pieces on the Yuching side, but this one is a lot different because he's not in a link team, alright? Not in a link team, and although the Yanhuo does not ignore the mimetism of the Bagmari, the high Dao does because of the MSV2, so this is a bit serious. So after spending several orders to get into this position, and note that you're not just committing a model, but you're committing the resources of the orders to get into this position, he's able to just duck around this piece of terrain here and draw a line right through to the high Dao position over there. Whoops, camera's on the wrong side. Okay, so I think that attacking the Yanhuo is a decent thing to do, because you're likely to, well, maybe not decent, but it's at least justifiable. Whereas this shootout's not really as good. The Bagmari's Bliss skill 12 on 4 dice, the high Dao's Bliss skill 16 on 2 dice with a multi-sniper, and he's got armor 3 plus cover for blocking things, and he's got 2 wounds, effectively because of shock immunity and NWI. So this is really not as good. Let's just go back and have a look. So if we go back to that same Bagmari, we change his weapon to an HMG, we take away his link team bonus, but we still got the range and cover modifiers. Then if we swap out the Yanhuo for a high Dao MSV2, he's shooting back with an anti-material multi-sniper. He has a bigger link team of 5 guys, got range, got cover. If we roll the dice now, let's take a look. So in this case, it's not looking good, is it? Because the Bagmari's got a 31% chance of doing just 1 wound, which doesn't even kill it. 7% chance, or 7.5% chance of doing 2 wounds, which will kill it, which won't be the end of the game for Yuching. They've got other stuff. 25% chance that even more orders are wasted for Pano, and then a 43% chance that the high Dao wins, and the Bagmari can only sustain 1 wound before he goes unconscious. So you're spending 2 or 3 orders to get into position, and then you're spending another order to give your opponent a positive chance of killing your own SWC model. So this is really rough, I feel. If I had been in the Pano player's position here, I feel like I would have maybe tried to do this with the Bulleteer up at a closer range, somehow strafe around the side really quickly and try and get in the range band where it's under 16 inches maybe, because then it's 15s versus something like 13s, 4 dice versus 2, so that might have been better. Or just ignored the high Dao for as long as possible and just keep your own troops ready. Another idea is to have had the Bagmari in the 5-man link team and had them in a position where they can actually relocate a bit more easily rather than being on the building. That's a possibility as well. I also do like the idea of having your Orc Trooper go after the high Dao in a link team with a HMG, because then if he does get hit, there's a better opportunity for the Doctor to revive you. But as it happens, he does actually go for the dice, and predictably the high Dao does actually kill him. So you can see an unconscious Bagmari in the background in this photo. What's going to be happening shortly is the Doctor's going to be going around to try and revive him. So we'll take a look at that next. Okay, before that happens though, there's a Naga which moves up to the cover here and is then going to be moving out. So Naga pulling around here. There is an obstacle in the way, so the Yanhuo can't see it, but Naga does move around here. It is a killer hacker Naga, and it does successfully, after a couple of failed attempts, manage to press the button and turn on one of the heating units, and then comes back behind this corner here and lays this mine in the form of the camo token. So that happens. And then the other Naga moving out on the other side of the battlefield, the Warcore just goes for the delay, so where our other Naga moves in, comes behind this obstacle, and due to some bad luck, failing willpower checks and not managing to turn the console on for the heating unit, so that's unfortunate. Okay, well that's the end of Pano turn 1, and unfortunately only a single wound inflicted on the Yanhuo, no other damage done really, and no orders lost for Yu Qing, so great position. Another thing I found a little bit questionable is that this Bagmari here with the multi-sniper could have had an order spent on it to move away, but he decided to spend the orders on the Nagas instead to press buttons and things like that. So he's actually still standing there, and the Yanhuo can now stand up and shoot at him. And although the Bagmari had the advantage in the active turn, it's not going to be the case in the reactive turn because, like we talked about, we're using this unprecedented beast of the Yanhuo double missile launcher in a 3-man link to go after him now. So it's like we're expecting some explosive carnage. Let's just take a quick look at it. So let's go back. Let's have a look. So Yu Qing will go find heavy infantry, Yanhuo Invincibles. He's got 2 missile launchers with the blast mode. Range is good, and he's got the 3-man link. So that's that. And on the other side, if we just go to Pano, we grab the Bagmaris, let's find them here. He's got a multi-sniper with anti-material, link team is maxed, range is good, he's got cover, let's roll the dice this time around. So, it's a lot closer, isn't it? Let's just show the modifiers. So, range, +3, net BS is 11, that sounds about right. Net BS is 15, so for that's 2 shots, so it's 3 shots versus 2, so it's a lot closer. 34% chance for the Yanhuo to do damage, 40% for the Bagmari to do 1 wound. You can revive that with the Doctor. For some reason I thought the Yanhuo would be a little bit stronger against this, but I guess the stats show otherwise. Just have a quick look. Just gonna scan through. I'm pretty sure it is picking up that the Yanhuo has 3 burst. Base burst, there it is there. BS. And we've chosen missile launcher 2 with blast mode. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that's accurate. So it's pretty close. Regardless of that, what you're seeing here is that Yanhuo does eliminate the Bagmari. Which is fair, pretty even odds, and now we can move into some more fun stuff. So couldn't resist this. A lot of people, will tell you, and probably me included, that it's probably better to forego the option of landing with the Liu Jing and try and blow him up as many people if there's a better opportunity to land somewhere else and just start shooting him and using him as a 2-wound model. The fun thing about this situation, though, is that he's able to land in a position where the worst that can happen to him is that he gets flash pulsed by the little Fugazi here. The bullet is facing the wrong way because it's a lot of arcs there. If the engineer shoots at me, well, I could lose a wound, but at least I'm getting a free hit on him. So there you go. And if he does get flash pulsed, he's at least standing in the enemy line for the next turn anyway, so that's quite fun. So put down control jump with my hacker, landed with the Liu Xing, managed to beat the hack transport, and we're in. So what happens here is the engineer attempts to shoot, misses, and gets blown up by explosion. The bulleteer fails his dodge check, but passes the armor save. The flash pulse bot goes for the flash, does flash me, fail the BTS check, I am blinded, and the Fugazi passes its armor save. So not ideal, a little bit unlucky for me there, but I just, was tempted, I couldn't resist. Now, we do have a whole bunch more orders in Group 1. So there's a Rushi which picks up support where from the hacker here doesn't need the control jump anymore because that's happened. So Rushi now moving out and just moving around here, and we're going to try and target this Naga here out in the open behind that objective since he failed to press the button. He has gone back into camo mode. So Rushi comes around here. Once he gets into position, the Naga has not revealed, declaring a discover-shoot combination, and that's going to allow us to discover him and shoot him through this beautiful angle here, ignoring his cover, of course, because of assisted fire. And this is just a single Naga with, forward observe. He is he's dogged, but we've got shock, so just the perfect model to get rid of him here in the form of the Rushi. So that happens, and the Naga is eliminated. Rushi continuing to move around now, and we're trying to get into a position where he's going to draw a thin line of sight through past the Bulleteer, and that is achieved, as you can see from this line. The unfortunate Lushing is blinded, so the Rushi is going to have to do the job. Initial shot at the Bulleteer fails to kill him, but the second volley does rip him up, and the Engineer's gone, so that at least drops our opponent down by one Bulleteer. And then, since we have very few orders left, by the way, Group 2, Lushing, moving out of the way, the bot does try to go for the engage and succeeds, which is annoying because it puts him in close combat. This is a mistake from me, by the way. I shouldn't have actually done that. But you've got the Rushi going into suppression fire here, just because there are very few models on this side of the table which can really go and contest him. I mean, he can attack me with the Pathfinder, but it's going to be even odds, 12s versus 12s and 3 dice most likely. So, yeah, just sets up the Rushi for causing some trouble. Elsewhere, I've got my Engineer moving out, just trying to get closer into the center of the map so that in later turns he can be used to press buttons and, do special things. So he ends up in suppression fire in the middle of the map as well, just behind this big building, protecting either side here from stragglers that might come through and try and get through to my lines. Yanhuo is also standing up again, so he's going to be providing some beefy arrows. Alrighty, so we've got a Pathfinder. Pano player here forgets to put down assisted fire, but the doesn't really need it, so the Pathfinder pulls out here, goes for the Rushi. Bear in mind, the Pathfinder is, I think, ballistic skill 12, or maybe 11 rather, so +3 for range, -3 for suppression, and the Rushi is basically at 0 range band, but ignores cover, so same dice for both players. Luckily, Pano player manages to win the shootout here and does take down the Rushi. A little bit of luck going his way, but now he's freed up to have a go at the Lushing as well. I'm going to try and find an image. So this is further back in the game, but after the Pathfinder comes out here and destroys this Rushi, he's able to use triangulated fire to shoot into close combat. And this is why it was a mistake for me to use my Lushing to move while he was blinded, because it sets him up and you can just take the engage. If the Lushing had been there by himself, he could shoot back or dodge or do whatever he wants to, and that would have been more difficult for my opponent to kill, because he's ignoring the close combat bonus by using triangulated fire, the sensor ability. So that was pretty cool. So Pathfinder doing a lot of damage there, and then his Doctor's freed up to move out. So the Doctor moves out around. He uses his Palbot to jump off a building, but gets blown up by a Yanhuo in the process, and then moves over to try and fire his little medikit, medijector thing, not a medijector, the little gun that can potentially revive friendly troopers. He tries for that onto the Bagmari, but unfortunately misses a couple of shots. Elsewhere, he's just repositioning people, I think. So let me just show you the photograph. So there's the Doctor. There's the downed Bagmari. After several attempts, later in the turn, the Doctor does actually finally score a hit on the Bagmari. He does pass his physical check at -3 and is revived, but eventually is out of orders, so can't use the Bagmari to initially have another go at the hideout, which is probably a good thing. You don't really want to, go into that bad shootout again, right? Okay, so we're also moving through with the other Naga killer hacker, moving around to back him up, and that goes back into camo state over here at the back line. And we also have I believe, a coordinated order moving the flashball spot out somewhere else. So here's our situation. And then it's Yucheng turn 2, so Invincible Army moving out. These guys are sick of staying in that green toxic puddle next to the police car, so my plan here for turn 2, after carefully having a look, calculating a few options, there were a few different things I could have done. But I decided in the end I was going to move out with the hideout group and try to get all the way around to the left-hand flank, kill a few models, and have the sniper set up in a position where if he uses his last turn to move out with his data tracker into the exclusion zone, he's going to have to come past the hideout's multi-sniper. You guys will see what I mean in a moment. So everybody moving out, moving out, moving out, moving out. Unfortunately, there's a Bagmari off in the distance, obscured by that little clump of red trees. So I can't move the link team past this without killing the Bagmari first. So they're all moving into position. We're going to move the hideout to this corner here, and he's going to set up and just take the shot. There is a saturation zone, but again, it's the 5-man link team sniper against one guy with an HMG. I still have the secondary wound intact for the NWI available to me. So we'll see how that goes. Moving in here. Going for the snipe, hideout does predictably win this shootout. It's BS16 with 2 dice after you've factored in the saturation zone from the little planter versus 1 dice on 12. So the hideout does the job, kills the Bagmari again, and we can now move into this flank with a few orders to spare. I decided I wanted to use the Zanshi hacker here with the combi rifle to go after the Pathfinder, because it's better to have 4 dice and the range band would be better than the hideout would be able to. So just moving him in carefully, getting the silhouette set up somewhere where I'm not going to be visible to anything else, and firing the 4 shots into the Pathfinder with the full link team backing me up, and that does drop the Pathfinder to the ground. So then you can sort of see what's left. He's got his HVT. Mind you, this is a great positioning to be in because it's going to allow me to score that classified with the HVT. I do have experimental drug as my classified, but he didn't actually knock the Yanhua unconscious, so no opportunity to use it. But there's a flash pulse bot out here just sitting around. He's going to get taken out by the sniper. The doctor is in a bad position, so he's going to get hit in the back there. As you can see, firing the sniper 1 round into the back at the Fugazi, and the other shot all the way over here to the position of the doctor. That's going to eliminate both models pretty handily. With firepower here, we've taken out the Pathfinder. The engineer's been destroyed by the Lu Sheng, so there are no more Pano models on this flank at all. No Naga, no other troops. He's just got 1 link team and 1 Naga on the other side of the battlefield, which makes me feel comfortable about leaving the hideout there, right? If I just grab the pen again, in fact we're just going to change colors. So even though the hideout has no cover, there's nothing on his side of the table which has a gun that is in good range band further than 16 inches. So he's got no smoke grenades either. So to come into the exclusion zone, he's going to have to cross that line of fire, which is pretty bad. And even if he does spend his last sort of 6 or 7 orders moving out and getting stuff into the exclusion zone, I've got that last turn during which I can move out with my 5-man link and just kill his data tracker and be ahead on points anyway. Or move out with the Yanhuo link team with the tactical awareness data tracker, Zhu Yong, and get the job done with them. So it's a pretty strong position to be in. Alrighty, so that's their final positioning, just moving out, going prone, sticking around. We've also got the engineer moving up, pressing a button on one of the consoles to heat up the deployment zone. I do have a whole group of guys closer to his side of the table, but he's turned on one of his heating units, so at the end I could also move them into a heated area if I need to. Hiding away with the engineer in the middle of the table. So he's now moving out with his Naga killer hacker. He's going back to camo mode, trying to avoid the Yanhuo shot through here, so that's why he has to stay in camo. And there's an opportunity here for me to discover with the Yanhuo. That would mean that he can keep moving with this guy. If I go for a delay, if he opens up on the hideout too early, the missile launcher is going to be able to shoot. So I ended up going, I think, for the discover. And in fact, I can't quite remember what choice I made. The main thing to bear in mind is that the Naga's managed to come around here. He's going to come further around here. He's going to get into a 16-inch range band shootout with the hideout. And his plan really is just to risk. He knows he's losing at the moment. It's just trying a risky play. It's worth doing. If he does knock out the hideout, he could spend his remaining orders moving the Orc trooper and the regulars into the exclusion zone and just hope that he can fend everything off. Problem with that would also be that he may be way behind in points as well. So without having killed my data tracker and without really having collected a classified objective, it could be difficult. Anyhow, we move in with the Naga. Predictably, the Naga's going to have a hard time against this Hideout. The Hideout is ballistic skill 16 at that range band. He stays at 16. He doesn't care about camo because he's got MSV2. He doesn't care about surprise attack because he's got 6 sense level 2 from the Link team. The Naga, I think, is ballistic skill 12. Can't quite remember. It's +3 for range, so maybe 15s on 3 dice. He's got to get through 2 wounds. So it's not the greatest of shootouts, but he's got to go for it, and sadly the Naga loses and is wiped out. I would have been interested to see what would have happened if he'd spent the last few orders moving out with the Orc Trooper, but we decided to call it there. It's a concede from Pano's side. It's pretty easy to see how the Invincible Army would have cleaned up pretty nicely in the last turn anyway. But fun game, a game of, you know, a lot of variables with shooting, some pretty important face-to-face rolls. But again, I think it's about managing the scenario and controlling your game plan for the scenario as well. And the way I went about that left a lot of room for error, I felt. If I'd lost 1 or 2 key pieces in unlucky shootouts, there's still a lot more that I could have done to secure the win at the end. So yeah, I do believe that unless you're playing like a really ultra-aggressive list, for example, Haq Islam with Dale Armies and Impersonators and shit like that, you probably should be going for second turn if you can afford to in this scenario. But again, it's a decent scenario. It's definitely possible to win without having last turn. Just make sure you know what you're doing and you've got the game planned out. Alright guys, that's it for this Bat Rep. Do look out for more VaulSC content over the weekend and next week, because there's the new book come out, a lot of Army 6 changes, really keen to talk about the new sectorials, especially the Shazvasti, so stay tuned for more of that. Thanks for watching as always.